Chicago Bears at the Los Angeles Chargers. This is your Sunday night football game.
Okay.
A couple 2-win teams here.
Yeah.
Bears and Chargers.
Different feels, though, for the same record, essentially.
Well, yeah. The Chargers are still favored by 8.5.
Yeah.
Over the Bears and Tyson
Bagent.
Yeah.
Bagent time.
Primetime Bagent.
Prime time. How many
Bagent.
packages are Sunday Night Football going to have about his arm wrestling dad? Is Chris going to have? Are we going to get like a
more packages than the points the Bears are going to score?
Are we going to get a Chris arm wrestling? What's his dad's name? Somebody Bagent? Is that going to happen? We're going to get like a little package? Chris arm wrestling.
Chris should do some arm wrestling.
The Bagent.
Or maybe Chris and Mike Tirico.
Like double team.
They should. Well, I was going to say 1-on-1 Chris versus Tirico.
Oh, okay.
Arm wrestling.
No, I like 2-on-1. Both of them against Bagent.
You know, someone like Jack Collinsworth has a history of like, as a half reporter, host and everything. He got in the trenches, Jack.
Yeah.
A couple of years back, and he tried to experience Derrick Henry's stiff
Chris
arm.
has got like a long sizzle reel of that stuff. He's shown us some of the old stuff.
Yeah, but Chris is the veteran now. Like he doesn't have to do that.
Doesn't
but Jack,
dirty himself with that stuff.
Jack, I'm sure on the pregame show will have something for us.
Okay,
Jack will have arm
somebody
Bagent's
right. Somebody needs to be out there arm wrestling Tyson Bagent's dad. That's all I'm saying. If you're listening, NBC people,
yeah.
If somebody hasn't done that during the week,
it's time to do it.
I and millions of Americans will be disappointed.
Yes. So that's going to be the big story in this game. Chargers are 2-4, and they've disappointed us once again.
Doesn't this kind of feel, though, that a game where Tyson Bagent can actually have some success?
I mean, the way he played last week, which was, I don't want to use conservative, but
it is, though.
It was underneath.
Right.
It was safe. And it was a whole bunch of just good decisions over and over
at the moment,
against the Chargers team that allows those.
Right. At the moment, he is he's the prototypical game-managing quarterback who gives off the indication or the feels or the vibes of somebody that absolutely isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he gives off this sort of wild maverick, tattooed, long flow, like gunslinger type of vibe, and yet his game is game manager at the moment.
We had one game of evidence, though.
Sure, yeah, well, a game and a half. Yeah, yes. But that's what he looks like at the moment. But against the Chargers defense, which still isn't great, that's actually not a bad recipe, right?
Yeah, that should work. That definitely has the potential to work.
And then it's just like, again, does game manager is only as good as his mistakes? Like how many times do you put the ball in harm's way and do you get punished for it? So we've seen so far, like Bagent comes in for Fields, immediately has that really bad fumble thing. But then last week didn't have any mistakes, and consequently you get a much better version of the team, and they actually end up having a good performance. So if he doesn't make mistakes, I think they can move the ball and have success against the Chargers.
Rookie offensive tackle Darnell Wright is questionable. He looked like he was almost playing with one arm last week for the Bears. He'll have to block Khalil Mack. This is why, when Khalil Mack had that 6-sack game, was that even real?
Right.
After weeks and weeks of, not really producing and really kind of getting shut out, and then he has a 6-sack game, and that's pretty much been it. I mean, the Chargers, there's just no consistency right now between their pass rush, their coverage, and it really is a whole bunch of pretty good names who are either kind of playing hurt like a Joey Bosa or just don't – like Mac's overall grade is good. It's just so condensed in a couple games.
Yeah.
You're not getting that consistent play from this Chargers defense, which I will continue to say should be much better, including number 3, who looked like a star for years and is now in the middle of the worst year of his career.
Right. I think Mac has definitely been better this year, but that one game with the 6 sacks is his only PFF pass rushing grade game this season over 71. So he's had pressure in a lot of other games, but he never really stopped generating pressure. I mean, even last year he had 59 pressures. Like he's always sort of been a factor. It's just that he went from, league-leading level pressure and getting a ton of big plays to now we're still getting pressure. It's just not the same level of impact. And then he had that one game against the Raiders where he did. But outside of that, it's been back to like the more previous baseline of he'll get you some pressure, but he's probably not ruining your game. But if the Bears rather have to go into the bench, that could be a factor.
And a quick little Justin Herbert breakdown here. He's now QB 13 in our passing grades. Has the 5th highest average depth of target, 9.2. That's about 1.5 yards higher than what we saw over 2 yards higher than what we saw last year. So completely different style. But it is now official, right at the moment, the worst grade of his career. Passer ratings kind of in line with the rest of his career. So it's just an interesting dynamic. I do think the Chargers are still lacking a deep threat. Josh Palmer made some plays last week, but it's the Keenan Allen show. It still feels fragile, but against this Bears defense, I think the Chargers will have some success. Just interesting watching this Herbert progression where we've been asking for more aggressiveness. I think we're getting it. You get a few more turnover-worthy plays, but the big-time throw rate's still not special or anything. Like, you're still not getting...
I mean, he's missing a lot of throws.
Yeah, and he's missing some easy stuff, for sure.
He's missed touchdowns in each of the last 2 games, let alone just sort of big plays. He's currently the 13th ranked quarterback in the NFL by PFF grade, 12th if you take out Andy Dalton's one performance.
Yeah,
so
12th,
some of the underlying numbers that you would have assumed would lead to a much better version of Justin Herbert and more production and all those kinds of things have changed, have moved where we wanted to put them, but his performance hasn't matched them. Like, he's playing worse despite, I guess, stylistically moving in the right direction. So is that cause and effect, or is that just coincidence? Like,
they need Quentin Johnston. They need other guys to step up. I mean, I think the stats aren't as good because it is the Keenan Allen only show as far as consistency goes. As impressed as I was by Josh Palmer last week.
Yeah, but that's not, I mean...
You already have people saying, by the way, the Chargers drafted Quentin Johnston just ahead of Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers. You're already getting that discussion going.
As it should have had. I mean, I wouldn't have drafted him, certainly not ahead of...
Did you give them Addison all the time?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a common mock that I gave.
Just curious. Cool. 8.5, Chargers favorite at home against the Bears. Where are you going? Like, the Chargers covering 8.5 to the Chargers. That's tough. That's a challenge, man.
Yeah, I'm going Bears.
Get behind.
Bajan time, baby. Bajan on Sunday. Prime time Bajan with his arm wrestling dad out there crushing people.
Even as a former preseason Division II All-American, I can't get on board with Division II Bajan.
You can't?
No, I'm not doing it.
Huh.
Take the Chargers.
Wow.
I should stick with my D2 people.
Brethren.
Right?
Yeah.
I should.
D2 people got to stick together.
We should. There's only a few of us.
Right.
In football.
Mm-hmm. Just you and Tyson.
All right. I'll take Chicago. You're right.